Well, folks, as you can see, I have Aristo here with me today. This is the video for the 16th of January in 2018. It's Aristo's in my first video of the new year. And the title for today is The Issues We Face Today. Aristo, take it away.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks again. And greetings and salutations, everyone. So we were basically talking with Ron here in this, what is it, Monday morning, Monday at noon, and where I am. We were talking about, what were we talking about? St. Paul. And I had sent him a link about Paul being different and somebody who's agnostic was, really coming down hard on it and all of that. And that's one thing, okay? But the issues we face today are essentially the rechanneling of our own understanding that things are not right in the world. And we are being manipulated, we know that. Now, how are we being manipulated? Maybe intellectually we know that. Emotionally, however, we have to submit to the manipulation because we don't know how to bond our emotions with our intellect and our instincts in order to be able to be empowered to actually navigate this. We don't have to come up with solutions. We're solution oriented all the time. Now, solution doesn't have to be our end game. It could be our process, a solutionary process. Now, Ron was talking about going to, pick up his grandchild and going to, and at every corner there was a police officer. And of course, that is part of the, keeping the peace being the people keeping quiet. That's what the peace is. It's not stopping, terrorism or stopping war or stopping crime. Really, that's incidental.
Stopping ideas.
It's stopping ideas. That social media is good enough for that. It's stopping emotions from reaching their target and generating action, because emotions generate the most action, not intellect. Intellect eventually plans. But the psychopaths who really don't have a lot of emotional drive, except for some kind of, not true emotions, they have instinctive emotions like fear and rage, but not even rage. It's more like in the sense of
they're incapable of loving.
Yes, they're incapable of loving. They're incapable of empathizing. They do have affection. They do have pets. They do have toys. They love these things, in the sense of having some kind of space where, there's a little bit of warmth there. But the actual cold ones don't even have that. Now, the point is, normal, natural human emotion is the prime motivator. So when you get angry, you are motivating yourself, you're energizing yourself, you're charging your batteries to act. Then comes somebody that says, oh, keep quiet, oh, come on, oh, calm down, oh, shut up, and thus your motivation is being punctured. Somebody pokes a hole through your tires and deflates you. And so you feel terrible, but then your guilt is imposed on you. So, oh, well, why am I such an asshole?
You're thinking negatively.
Negatively.
I get that from a lot of people.
Yes, you do. And you think positively, you think negative. It's the same thing. You're thinking as you choose to think. That is the primary accusation. You're thinking as you choose to think. Sometimes you're not thinking at all, but that's still your choice in a way. The thing is, if somebody really wants to change your thinking, they have to understand that they're going to create dissonance in you and not bitch about it, because that is counterproductive. They're not going to, accusing you is not going to work. However, the knowledge that that you're going to have to create dissonance in other people. For example, if you're stuck in a mental rut and your emotions are being channeled into an unproductive area, somebody can come in and shock you out of it by generating dissonance in you in the right amount, in the right proportion, striking at the right emotional chord, and then stepping back and letting you vibrate that. They don't have to drive it in to prove a point, okay? The proving of a point usually doesn't occur when someone is manipulated, and all of us are. You see, there's so much understanding on how to fuck up people, and it's all on the internet. We're taught about straw men and homonyms, about how to argue and how to rhetoric, and we're talked about neurolinguistic programming and how to manipulate people, all of these little subtle things that everybody's learning in one way or another. You don't even have to go to seminars. You just pick up stuff here and there. You don't even know you're picking it up. You're copying other people. It's just a meme, memes and how to do things. We're being trained and we don't even know we're being trained. So we're not paying attention. Of course we're not. We're too stressed to pay attention. Our motivating emotions are being diverted elsewhere. And we don't want to focus on that because we're afraid, because we're being threatened that if we redivert them back to where they need to be, where we originally wanted them to be, you're a liberal, I'm a liberal, whatever, that's fine. Liberal means I want to be free. I'm a conservative, yes, because there are some things that I want to keep holy. I don't want to throw everything out. So why do I have to be one or the other? Who tells me that? Why can't I be, then you're a moderate? No, I'm not a moderate. Whose idea is where the moderate is? Where's the midpoint? We all have different midpoints. There is no one midpoint. We're all stuck on a little narrow path and it's, jostling for position here. Why do we take, we take too much for granted because it's easier. Of course it's easier. We're trained. And the stimuli are everywhere to the point that it's almost an occult phenomenon. It's almost like somebody's doing black magic against us. It's the same type of symptoms you read in these traditions. And not only that, but the point is that all of that black magic stuff is also a form of mind control, a form of body control, a form of spirit control. The whole thing is that we have so many stimuli controlling us and we can't identify them, but the one factor that tells us is our feelings, our emotional expression is the outcome, the output of what our feelings are. And our feelings can be stimulated, affected, influenced by our intentions and our programming. However, deep down the feeling has just some basic premises. You want to feel good, you want to feel loved, you want to feel accepted, you want your life to continue, you want to minimize stress, you want to, etc., etc. There are a few things. And then once you complete these things, you have other things that are not immediately important compared to the first ones, but you can't really live a meaningful life without them. And then other things, the old Maslow's pyramid hierarchy type thing, loosely put. So today we're being faced with the top levels being irrelevant and substituted with crap, and the bottom levels completely attacked constantly with a constant denial of who is doing the attacking. Between the period of 2005, 2004, let's say, my online experience, and 2012, it almost became mainstream to be alternative. It almost, there's certain things, and right now, many things from the alternative arena have become quasi-mainstream. People, vaccines, whatever, global warming, which is not really climate change.
Global warming.
Yeah, we're freezing here, and it's global warming. And, the immigration problem, this and that, these things are mainstream. However, the reasons for it, there's a lot of nationalism popping up. There's a lot of awareness of what the bankers are doing. This isn't, and the banks and the economies and the UN and Agenda 21, these things are, and even how our foods are being poisoned, GMOs, people are aware of these things much more.
Chemtrails.
And see, that's the thing that you can tell by the chemtrail thing, because that's a real thing. That is the least amount of things that are discussed. That's where you hear the big flag conspiracy theory. With something like vaccines, you don't hear that too much because it's about greed, and people, especially Americans, understand greed as the prime motivator. It's all about profit. No, it's about power. It's not about profit. But no, nobody, that's a conspiracy. What do you mean? I mean, whatever happened to the study that said there was only one corporation in the world, really? They're all tied together, and it's a hierarchy. It's a pyramidal hierarchy, and there's really one corporate intelligence, one corporate ownership. A few families own everything. So if that's the case, there is no profit. The money that they already have everything. All there is slavery, is power. Control the people. You control the resources, so you got the people. And if the people are getting in the way, you get them out of the way. But it's too much trouble to get them out of the way. It's going to destabilize everything. They're woven into the fabric of your own existence if you're a tyrant. You can't really just get rid of the people. You have to do this, change the people, alter them, weaken them. You have to act like a cancer. You have to take the cancer and even beyond just a plain parasite or a predator, and you have to act like a cancer upon an organism. Weaken the organism's immune system, and then occupy the organism, alter it, make it a mirror of yourself, and wipe it out. Because cancers are weak. They're weaker than the organism. They cannot do anything. That's why they take so many years to actually develop, and they're hidden. So these things are working against us. And you say, why would God do this? Because God wants to teach us to address cancer. He wants to heal cancer, and cancer cannot be healed at the manifest level without experience. It's not miraculously done, because life is meant to be lived as an adult existential entity. You're supposed to live life by navigating all of the probabilities that life can have. Any kind of creator, see, I'm jumping here again to primary cause, but let's just talk philosophically here. Any kind of creator is not going to just make a bunch of children running around in a restricted garden with guaranteed safety. You're not free then. And over a period of, shall we say, 1,000,000 years of the same old, you're going to go insane as a soul, not as a person. So you ask, why does God do this? Because we will go insane. We are meant to be free. We're all going to have a Lucifer rebellion, and we're going to want to be God because we think we can do it better, because we've been restricted for our own good. We do not want to be restricted. Well, what's the alternative? The alternative is getting out into a field of infinite options where anything can happen, and it's our responsibility to use our God-given resources to save our asses. And if we can't do that, then ultimately at some point, somebody will. And once they do, the path will be charted, and then everybody can just emulate that or build upon it. See, the cancer is trying to prevent that from happening. You don't need one savior. You need an example. But the example doesn't have to be obvious. You see, anybody who does anything in the world leaves a mark on a level that may not be observable on the intellectual consciousness. However, we can feel it. We can feel changes in the ether, shall we say. We can feel changes in the behavior of those around us in the subliminal level. There's many things that we can experience and feel. And all of these things are being hijacked, you see. So if you want to know what's important to cultivate, just look at what the parasites are trying to suppress. They're trying to suppress everything that they feel is a threat to them. Now, the parasites are not omniscient. So you need to look at stuff that is not on the radar. There's resources that we have that are not on the radar. Either they're marginalized, either they think that, oh, we've dealt with this 1,000 years ago, it's not going to happen again, or whatever. Or it's trivial, or they can't perceive it. You see, this is how really creative thinking, intelligent thinking, outside of the box thinking works. It's not some kind of pie in the sky, trust my feelings, be positive. But it's not, oh, we're all going to die if somebody doesn't do something negative either. Those are two extremes. We're polarized. The idea is not to find a middle ground. There is no, that's just another cry of a child for security. It's our balance is what we need to find. How am I balanced? What balances me? And just frivolously jumping to the conclusion that I'm balanced when I'm a psychopathic tyrant and act like an asshole. That's bullshit. I'm sorry, because my feelings, I have to be true to them no matter what anybody else does. See, be true to your feelings, not your emotional redirection. And that's what the establishment is doing to us, emotional redirection. These are issues we face today, not the crap that's on the media, alternative or otherwise. All of that is emotional misdirection, not just intellectual misdirection. So we go back to the original premise, those are the things that I'm concerned about. And we go to this Paul thing, And in a sense, it's funny because I go there and people go crazy about, Christianity, what the Bible says. And I know, you've been raised in this, you've been trained in this religious stuff, this God presence, this myth. And whether it's real or not, see, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying that that's not the issue. You can set that aside and look at the issue, because it doesn't matter, you know. If you think it matters because if you believe in a book or in a dogma that it's going to save your ass, no, it's not. On the other hand, does it matter if you deny the book or the dogma? We don't live in times where Christians are persecuting people. You got a bunch of stuck up, hung up neurotic types. Yes, well, those can be addressed. We're dealing with a very, very systematic cancer that includes fanaticism from religion. It includes fanaticism against race, but it includes a fanaticism that is trying to scapegoat all of these other fanaticisms, to hide itself, to conceal itself. When somebody goes out of their way to say conspiracy theory, you know that those words are establishment terms. There's no such thing as conspiracy theory. Conspiracy is historic fact. In fact, there's a law that says conspiracy to blah, 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 blah. You are being arrested, charged on conspiracy to murder, conspiracy to, manipulate, conspiracy to violate, to rape, to steal, to this, to that. Conspiracy is real. Conspiracy just means people getting together and making plans against other people. So to just say conspiracy theory because people who have is illogical, because people with the means to conspire and the attitude, the greed, the power lust, the psychopathic tendencies to conspire, they're the ones least likely to conspire. And yet, what are they doing? You know, are they just looking at indexes of what they're buying and selling? That's what they're doing? There's a hell of a lot more, you know. And people know that, but they're afraid because they are being taught that they have to do something about it immediately. Just do it, do it. We're being trained from everything, everything. Look at around you, it's all a training field. That's what a matrix is. It's an artificial womb. You're being groomed to be a new entity, a sexless, mindless, a blob of manipulated emotions, a slave. And then useless, because eventually the only reason this is going on, and you're not being destroyed outright, and I'm not being destroyed outright, is because, for the one thing, psychopaths need playthings, and robots aren't going to do it. And for the second, and it's fun to play God for them. The whole God concept for them is just a cancer wanting to be the body. And the main thing is because they need a model to mimic and create their own life forms. They want to be Dr. Frankenstein. They want to create bio-techno something or other that they can use as their slaves. All of these myths that we are being spoon-fed in the alternative media, the New Age myths of the Anunnaki stuff, of aliens coming out, of draconian overlords, this and that and the other, is what the psychopaths want to do. It's their vision of the future. It doesn't need to be the past. All of this is a plan. Maybe it's more, maybe all these guys are right. It doesn't matter. You pick the paradigm that is useful to you, what works. This is one reason, the one thing that I actually respect about people who practice occultism these days, instead of, black magic, white magic, just people who are into that kind of thing, no matter what their character is, one thing, they rely on results because it's not an established or acceptable thing. It's basically anybody can say anything and they do. So this is full of bullshit. It's just a big fog of bullshit. So the only thing that matters is what you can practice that works for you. And so you have to be on the ball to observe results constantly. And the results may not be good enough. That's there. You have to know what's good enough, what can work, what doesn't. And that's hard to tell. The thing is, this kind of attitude is something that we would all benefit from. What works? How does religion really help you? What does it really do for you? Not if it's real or not, or if it's true or not. There's no such thing as a lie that works. Lies do not work. If it works, then there's truth to it. It bonds with reality and it happens. Otherwise, you're deluded if you think a lie works. Then it doesn't work and you're actually being fooled to think it works. Or it does work and it's not really a lie. Or you're not looking at it right. You're looking at it as a lie and you're not seeing the half-truth within it. So these levels of understanding, we have brains, and there's something, I practice yoga myself, not the stretchy kind, not shaped for that, but the other kind, the meditative kind. And basically, the thing about all of these exercises that they do in Tantra and stuff, again, not the sexual kind, the actual consciousness kind, they basically cause neuroplastic reconstruction. Your brain cells are being completely reorganized. Your brain architecture is reorganized. Your neurological architecture, your genetic architecture is being reorganized. Why? Because once it's reorganized, a new template is set in place, a new pattern, you don't have to deal with it so much. You can move to the next level. So there are progressive stages. So if you want to reorganize it, you have to use it in a new manner. You have to use it. It's not faking it. It's basically acting how you want to be. Act how you want to be. You're not faking anything. Just because you think you are not that way, once you act how you want to be, you are that way. Being and action are very closely tied. They're not exactly the same thing, but they're interconnected. These are issues that I believe we are faced today. So you come into a conflict, or somebody comes into a conflict. They think, they're going to beat the sexist issue by bitching at somebody they think is a sexist, even though that person may just be trying to express outrage against reverse power lust. Well, not reverse, but just somebody who uses the whole sexist issue in order to step on other people. And, that's, if I just come out and express an opinion, and it doesn't fit the consensus, and then somebody just turns that opinion around, somebody comes up and craps on my yard, and just because they're gay or a woman or whatever, a woman of ethnicity of who knows what, I can't criticize the crapping. I can't say, you crapped on my yard, you bitch or you bastard. I need recompense. No, you're a racist. No, you're a sexist. I'm crapping on your. Oh, I'm not crapping. You've been crapping on your kind has been crapping on my yard for generations. See, you feel outraged at that because you didn't do anything personally. Somebody who actually has certain genetic traits similar to yours and not even identical has done something, so it's all your fault. Or, you're basically a scapegoat. So unless you sit there, bend over, and take it as a scapegoat, you're even worse than the person who actually did it. See, these types of behaviors. And then you have the other way, because these things have been done in reverse too, which isn't really reverse. So of course somebody's been, the whites have been oppressing blacks, or Caucasians have been oppressing Southern peoples, just as Southern peoples have been holding slaves. Arabs had a slave trade during the Middle Ages. The Europeans had slaves. Nordics had slaves. Vikings raped, did this and that. Everybody has been doing that kind of stuff. You can't take the monopoly on insanity. And it's not, and the thing is, technology has developed amongst the Western Europeans more because they took advantage of historic things. Romans had technology. They had a certain technology. They had gears and things and steam. They could have developed a steam engine easily. But for them, they were playthings. Why? Because they had slaves. They didn't need technology, to make shit. It was unreliable for them. They didn't trust it. They had slaves. And all of the knowledge in Alexandria was basically just a theoretical. They would make models and stuff, and some little ones, and they would work, and you had astronomical theories and this and that. And for the most part, nobody gave a shit because only these high and mighty philosophers who were usually wealthy people or relatives of wealthy people, nobility, a certain class, or maybe people who could be trained if they were talented by wealthy people. And so they were not the commoners. Knowledge was kept away and it wasn't applied. It wasn't until much later when Christianity came out and somebody had the bright idea to say, well, let's use this religion to make sure nobody comes up with any new ideas. And well, who's going to believe the religion? The fucking slaves are going to believe the religion. When 80% of the fucking Roman Empire is slaves, you liberate those slaves. They don't care what you tell them. They will believe it because you liberated them. Even if in the Middle Ages you had, just as you had slavery under other terms, a feudal system is still a slave system. But you're not owned with a collar around your neck and a chain to the wall, used like a breeding cow. You know, there are levels and levels. I mean, when I went to, we're all slaves, you say, but, you know, you just go to Atlanta and they want to destroy these things, but they're really a testimony to the insanity. And they should keep them. They should keep all of those markers where there are, that show Americans, after the Industrial Revolution, kept slaves. It's like the last official society, a Western society, all of a sudden comes, colonizes, and all of a sudden they're taking slaves. Why didn't the Europeans do this? They stopped slavery in the Middle Ages. Well, first of all, Christianity says no. And somehow these good Christians, just because, oh, these guys are heathens, we can actually, well, the Muslims did the same thing. They kept slaves. There was a constant raiding of Christian islands and Mediterranean places, all of that. So you can't monopolize insanity. You can't project it. That's what every tyrant has been doing. They're being used. Okay, alternative or not alternative, liberal or whatever, and these are American terms that some Soros organization or whoever funds these things is pushing onto Europe and everything. And pushing, and not that the Europeans are better, not that the Asians are better, not that the Africans are better, nobody is better. There are sane pockets of people on every continent, whether isolated, living naturally, living technology. There are sane individuals in every pocket of urban insanity, you know, but it's not like, am I the same one? Are you the same one? It's not fashionable to come up and say, I believe in myself. The US used to be built on that. I believe in myself. You know, I'm different and that's good. Now it's not so good. You know, or if you're unique, you just say, I'm unique, I'm a flashy, unique Google type person with all these flashy computer graphics going on behind me on the green screen. And, you know, but just like all the other flashy, unique type people that you can't talk against because I'm going to bitch at you and scream about my safe space. And that's the one side. Then you have the other side. Oh, conservative and Christian God's going to, you know, just a bunch of really ludicrous circus acts. And the psychos are all sitting back, eating popcorn, laughing at us until they get bored. And, you know, they're going to do their mass extermination. They're probably looking at their clocks already, wondering when it's going to start, when the show's going to start. I'm sorry, people. We face all of these things today. Please read between the lines. Please. And you know, I look at your YouTube channel, and usually you have these things that are completely irrelevant to the conversation. Comments that are Ron, go look at this. Well, please don't do this when I talk to Ron. Don't put those kind of comments because they have nothing to do with the conversation. You know, really. I don't give a shit about the flat earth. I don't give a shit about, you know, and I'm a guest here, so I have a say. Okay, yeah, it's not my channel, but it's ludicrous because I think this is just a sabotage then. You know, what the fuck does what I'm talking about right now have to do with who Jesus was or who the flat earth was or who this person or the Bitcoin crap? It's all crap. Cryptocurrency is crap currency. It's all cashless society crap. We've been talking about that. That's another issue. And all of a sudden everybody wants to profit from it just because they're dangling some, you know, saying some people became millionaires when you don't even know what the truth is about that. Come on, just because you're reliable alternative media types are saying, yeah. Look, if you are exposed today and become a media personality, somebody eventually is going to come and tell you how to do things depending on how much audience you have. If you don't have the required audience to be communicated, to be contacted, you will be picking up the signs in other ways, just subtle signs that eventually will become more and more. If you want to monetize, you have to do it this way. If you want to get more, you have to do it that way. Usually your greed is what motivates to a certain level. And then if you don't listen to those baser instincts, if you keep going, then fear is going to come in. If you don't listen to that, then it's going to become manifest. Look at Ron. Ron, you know, you had a giant, not a big ass following, but you were very determined, and you were becoming, at the peak of your influence, the ambassador came in and destroyed your life. That man destroyed your life. And, you know, and you are picking up the pieces and you're building upon it, but him and his kind are liars, phonies, and part of the problem. I don't know whatever he said, and it's not just because he was a con artist. And the people who criticize you after him are just a little better, maybe. But they're also, you know, just running around in circles. Because what do we do? What do we do? You have to think outside the box. And nobody can really tell you how to do that because we're all in different boxes. Okay, now, I think I've rambled enough. Thank you once again for having me. Please, people, think on these things. You know, this isn't the end. We still have several years left. And things do not change radically. So, you know, it's just a slow slide down. We're in the bucket. They're turning up the temperature. You know, until we start boiling, we don't even realize it. You know, but that's fine. You know, we're still here. We can turn our own soul around. And when we do that, we become a beacon, whether we know it or not. You know, whether we know it or not. But it's going to create dissonance in everything around you. And that's just another creative challenge. And creative challenges are a good thing. It's what humans do. It's why, if there is a God, we were created. So with that, I bid you a fond farewell for this time, and have a good week, a good month, a good life.
Thank you, Aristo. Have a good trip. Namaste.
Thank you.